In 1882, Friedrich Nietzsche declared, "God is dead, and we have killed him." But what if we took that literally? What if humanity actually held a funeral for the concept of God? What would that look like? Who would come? And what would it mean for the future of human consciousness? Today, we're exploring the most profound cultural transition in human history, the moment when our species began moving beyond the need for divine authority. And it's happening right now, in real time, across the globe. First, let's be clear about what died. It wasn't any particular god, or maybe it was all of them. It was the entire framework of divine authority that governed human societies for millennia, for thousands of years. Humans organized their entire existence around the assumption that invisible beings controlled reality. Kings ruled by divine right. Moral codes came from heaven. Natural disasters were divine punishment. Every aspect of life required supernatural explanation. But starting in the Enlightenment and accelerating through the modern era, humanity began discovering that we could explain morality, meaning, and existence without divine intervention. Science replaced miracles. Democracy replaced divine monarchy. Human rights replaced commandments. The death Nietzsche diagnosed wasn't theological. It was cultural. God didn't stop existing. God stopped being necessary. And when something becomes unnecessary, it eventually gets a funeral. Picture this: a great procession beginning simultaneously in every major religious center on earth. Not believers carrying relics, but humanity itself carrying the weight of letting go. From Mecca, millions begin walking, not Muslims performing Hajj, but human beings acknowledging that the Kaaba might be just a stone cube. The sacred black stone that Muslims kiss becomes just geology. The cosmic significance drains away, leaving behind beautiful architecture and human history, but no divine presence. From Jerusalem, another stream joins, Jews and Christians and secular pilgrims walking together, carrying the weight of realizing that this contested city might just be a city. The Western Wall becomes ancient masonry. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre becomes archaeology. The Dome of the Rock becomes stunning medieval engineering. From the Vatican, a third procession emerges, not just Catholics, but representatives of every denomination that ever claimed divine authority, now admitting they were speaking for themselves all along. These aren't angry mobs or triumphant atheists. These are human beings grieving the loss of cosmic specialness, the end of divine protection, the death of the ultimate parent figure. Because that's what this is, grief. When you realize there's probably no cosmic purpose, no divine plan, no ultimate meaning handed down from above, you mourn. You mourn the comfort of believing someone's in charge. You mourn the simplicity of absolute moral authority. You mourn the hope that death isn't really the end. You mourn the feeling that humans are special in the cosmos, rather than just clever apes on a random planet. But here's what's remarkable about this funeral procession. As these streams of humanity converge, something unexpected happens. Without the need to defend their particular version of God against all others, former enemies begin walking together. Muslims and Jews, Catholics and Protestants, Hindus and Buddhists, all united in acknowledging that their tribal gods were human creations. The funeral of God becomes the birth of a truly global human consciousness. As these processions meet somewhere in the Mediterranean, maybe on some neutral island, humanity faces its first moment of genuine species-wide unity. Not unity under any particular god, but unity in recognizing our cosmic aloneness. The funeral ceremony isn't led by any priest or imam or rabbi. It's led by scientists, philosophers, artists, people who've been mapping reality without divine assistance. They speak not of judgment or salvation, but of wonder at the universe we've discovered through human curiosity. The eulogies aren't bitter, they're grateful. Grateful for the centuries when belief in God gave humans moral frameworks, social cohesion, and comfort in the face of death. Grateful for the art, music, and literature inspired by divine longing. Grateful for the communities built around shared faith, but also ready to move forward without cosmic training wheels. As the symbolic casket is lowered, maybe, containing religious texts from every tradition, something emerges from the assembled billions. It's not new gods or replacement religions. It's something that's never existed before in human history. A species-wide ethics based purely on human reasoning and compassion. Without competing revelations, humans start asking better questions. How do we minimize suffering? How do we maximize flourishing? How do we explore the universe together? How do we create meaning without needing cosmic validation? The funeral becomes a wedding, humanity marrying itself, committing to figure things out together without divine intermediaries. In this post-funeral world, former churches become community centers, former mosques become libraries, former temples become art galleries. The buildings remain beautiful, but they serve human purposes rather than cosmic ones. Prayer becomes meditation. Worship becomes wonder at the natural universe. Scripture becomes literature. Miracles become scientific puzzles worth solving. Most importantly, moral authority transfers from ancient texts to ongoing human conversation. Instead of asking, what would God want? People ask, what reduces suffering and increases flourishing for conscious beings? This isn't moral relativism, it's moral responsibility. Without gods to blame or obey, humans become fully accountable for the world they create. But here's the paradox of God's funeral. The moment humanity stops needing divine authority, we might actually become worthy of it. Think about it. Every religious tradition talks about humans becoming more godlike, more compassionate, more wise, more loving. But as long as we're dependent on external divine authority, we remain spiritual children. Only when we accept full responsibility for morality, meaning, and existence do we develop the wisdom that religious traditions always said was divine. The funeral of God might be the birth of humanity as a truly mature species. As our imaginary funeral procession disperses, the participants return to their home countries carrying something new. The recognition that all humans are walking the same path toward understanding reality without supernatural assistance. The divisions that seemed so important when people believed their God was the only real God suddenly seem quaint, arbitrary, like adults remembering childhood arguments about whose imaginary friend was strongest. What emerges isn't godlessness, it's something bigger, a species-wide consciousness that's outgrown the need for cosmic parents, but retained the capacity for wonder, love, and transcendence. Maybe the funeral of God isn't the end of the sacred. Maybe it's the beginning of a truly sacred relationship with reality itself. What do you think? Is humanity ready for God's funeral? Are we mature enough to take full responsibility for our own existence? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you want more explorations of humanity's biggest philosophical transitions. The funeral might have already begun. We just haven't noticed yet.